Bonjour à toutes et tous, vous écoutez First Print, votre podcast comics préféré pour une nouvelle émission au format Super Friends. On a enfin terminé toutes les interviews réalisées au cours du FIBD et donc il est temps d'aller de l'avant avec tous les autres artistes qu'on a rencontrés entre-temps. Il y en a un paquet. Dans cette émission, on aura le plaisir de discuter avec le grand Alex Maleev, grand compagnon de Bendis sur beaucoup de ses œuvres, sur Scarlet en indépendant, surtout sur Daredevil. Sur Léviathan aussi, chez Desson, on l'avait vu pas mal de fois. Il était présent sur la dernière édition printanière du salon Paris Manga Sci-Fi Show. Et donc, c'est dans l'artiste allé qu'on a pu aller le rencontrer. C'est une interview qui sera disponible en anglais, enfin qui a été faite en anglais. Donc, amis anglophones, c'est pour vous. On espère que ça vous plaira. Et pour une fois, c'est Corentin qui fait la discussion en solo. Donc, je le laisse en votre compagnie juste après le générique et on remercie Mike de DiableBlanc Comics qui nous a mis en contact pour cette interview.
So, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
Maleev?
Alex Maleev. It's pronounced Maleev.
All right.
And mispronounced Maleev.
Okay.
But it doesn't bother me.
Most people mispronounce it, actually, I think.
Not most. All the people. Yeah, all people mispronounce it, yeah.
All right. For people that might discover your work, can you introduce us to your background as a comics artist in general and your history with the medium?
So do you want me to talk about my career or how I got interested in drawing?
Mostly your beginnings after that first.
In comics?
Yeah.
Well, I started working in 1994, or the beginning of 1995, in fact. And my first work was at Valiant Comics. At the time, it was called Acclaim afterwards. This is where I picked up my first job. And I've been working ever since. So, all the companies, Dark Horse, Marvel, DC. I don't know if I've done something for Image. I'm not sure. But all these companies I've been working for the last almost 29 years.
All right.
It'll be 30 years very soon.
You're originally from Bulgaria?
I'm originally from Bulgaria.
And
I'm still originally from Bulgaria. Yeah.
You're still originally from Bulgaria. That didn't change.
Not in my passport, no.
And you discovered comics at an early age with PIF Comics, I think.
That's correct, because that was the only magazine that we used to have back behind the Iron Curtain in Bulgaria. There was no other comics that were allowed there. And we have some publications done by some fellow artists in Bulgaria. We tried to do some comics, but it was hard. We were self-publishing at the time, and I didn't know if we're going to have any success with it. So I took the plane and went to New York.
Yeah. Did you think that first encounter with the French communist comics, if you want to call it that, had an influence on your debut as this is what I can do, this is what art in comics is?
Yeah.
Did you take any maybe reference from that?
Absolutely, I did. But I need to tell you that at the time, I had no idea that this was a communist publication. I found out years and years and years later. And of course, it all made sense because otherwise it wouldn't have been allowed to be sold on stands in a communist country. But in that magazine, there were amazing comics. And it'll be hard for me to remember all the names, especially the ones that were it's hard to even pronounce the French names. But if you give me some minutes, I'll come back with it. But yes, of course, I did. I did try to copy a lot of the things that I saw. That there was Rahan.
Yeah.
Of course, that was one of the.
We say Rahan in
Rahan,
France.
okay, see, I told you I was going to mispronounce a lot of the names. And plus, it's so loud here that.
I'm sorry about the sound for our listeners. You then started at Kubert School, I think, for a few months.
Yes. That was the school I applied to, searching for a way to get to the US, basically. And one of the schools was the Joe Kubert School of Illustration and Comics. I applied to the Savannah College of Arts and a bunch of other places, but out of the whole places that I was accepted at, I picked the Joe Kubert School and wanted to go there. But didn't last very long. Only last 4 months. And they advised me that I should just go and get a job. And I shouldn't spend too much time there.
Was it a chance for you to educate yourself to the American art on comic books? Because if you didn't grow up with superheroes, and yet you later become defining voice for how to draw superheroes in a more noir way, a more detective way, how did you transition from the art that you were doing in Bulgaria to the art that became a milestone for superheroes eventually?
Well, I must admit that it was not intentional. It was probably because my background was in fine arts, and I graduated in the Academy of Fine Arts in printmaking. So my major being printmaking, I used to work on a press basically, and then do etchings and lithographies and things like that. And it never crossed my mind that I'll have a lifelong career in comics. But I suppose the background that I had sort of naturally blended into the what I was searching to find in the beginning was my own style in comics. And of course I leaned back on what I was familiar with, which is how to draw well, real human bodies with textures and shadows and all that stuff, which is what we were taught in school. The French Academy of Fine Arts and the Bulgarian Academy of Fine Arts have the same program. So your listeners are probably familiar with all the classes that I took, because I think the Bulgarian Fine Arts, the Academy of Fine Arts, is based on the French style of teaching. So we drew the same things you guys draw here. So that was the only thing I knew how to do well. And naturally, comics got influenced by what I knew how to do well.
But that's
so it wasn't like that. It wasn't something I was intentionally seeking to do. That's just how it happened. Yeah.
But that's for structures and body and the lightnings. But it's a sequential art.
Mm-hmm.
So did you take maybe inspiration from some other guys to learn how to make panels react to each other, how to occupy the space of the page?
Well, I can't tell you that I studied everybody else's work at the time to figure out how to do storytelling. But since I did some comics back in Bulgaria while we were doing the self-publishing stuff, and I've watched so many movies over the years, perhaps I had a natural ability to do this, to tell the stories in a way that people would understand them. But there wasn't any science to this, to be honest with you. It wasn't anything that I particularly studied how to do. But I did work as a storyboard artist for some movies, and that certainly did help because I spent some time with great directors and directors of photography and working in teams whose job was to tell stories with pictures. So working with directors, they would naturally ask me what what they want to see on a panel, because it's a as you know, storyboards is just 16 by 9 size panels. So they would direct me to draw stuff that they wanted me to do, but sometimes they'll just give me the free reins and say, just let us know, how would you develop that scene, where would you like the camera to go, and things like that. It did help. It's just experience over the years, layer by layer of experience leads to it becomes a second nature. Like I hardly even think about what panel and which panel I'd like to put in a certain sequence of storytelling. But of course, when I'm veering towards a different theme now. But now we have digital art, and we've had digital art, so that allows us to go back and change sometimes the things that we thought were wrong. You can alter the storytelling up until the very end when it goes to print. So, it's a long story.
And this storyboard career, wasn't something you wanted to pursue?
Not in the beginning, no. All I wanted to do was etchings. All I wanted to do is roll the press. And if I could have done this for the rest of my life, I probably would have never done any comics. Zero. But it just, turns of the fate brought me to the States, and put me in that career path that I had.
Yeah, and I think you were, maybe it's not the case anymore, but you were known to do still your panels as storyboards and then cut inside of them.
I still do that.
You still do that?
Yeah, I still do that. Not as I used to. Like I wouldn't just draw the whole thing as a film screen. But I would, I draw on the script itself. I print out the script and I just draw panels by panels by panels. And of course, I cut them up because sometimes they have to be a short panel or a long panel, or if I can tell stories in comics in 16:9 ratio, I probably will do this all day long.
Right, because you have this very it's not essentially a layout that's stylish as a comics one. It's more European to my knowledge, which maybe comes from this ability you have to manipulate the frame, so the picture will only focus on the elements you choose. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know. And you can have a 16:9 style frame in which 2/3 of it could be a silhouette of something, and you can focus again on 1/3 or even 1/4 of what is important. And we're restrained by the size of a comic book page, and sometimes we gotta cut out just that 1/4 that is important, and fit it with another 6 of those little quarters that are important. Whereas I would like to say, just give me 4 panels. I'll give you the important stuff, but I'd like to block out the things that are not important because they also matter. And this is the space in which the important things floats, and it allows it to live. So it's the negative and versus, not positive, negative versus...
Positive.
Well, yeah, in a way, yeah.
I'm sorry, I have to be the nerd guy here, but...
Don't be the nerd guy.
Obviously, I have to talk about your relationship with Brian Bendis.
Okay.
I think it was McFarlane who put you two together on Sam and Twitch.
Yes, that was the beginning of, yes.
Yeah, and obviously you worked a lot together, and it's hard to isolate one job that would be essential to your career, but what made you guys click? Why is this guy the duet to your art?
Well, I suppose in the beginning I figured it out already that it's the best writer I can work with. I mean, the answer is very easy to come up with. Why? I mean, honestly, I don't know. That's how it worked out. We stuck with each other because we liked each other's work, and it seemed from the Sam and Twitch days and then on to the Daredevil days. But remember, Daredevil was such a long project. It was over 60 issues. So we were allowed to, by Marvel Knights and our friends at Marvel, we were allowed to basically take the story wherever we wanted to. And Brian did this with his writing, and I did this with my art. And at the end of it, it was a success. So we figured, since people love our shit, pardon me for using that word, love our work, and Marvel loves our team, then we should, by all means, just keep going on and on and on. And we did. And we've been working, and we're still working together after all these years. So we still have more stories to tell.
Yeah. One thing that struck the readership at that time was your designs. Bullseye used to be this guy in a blue suit with the Target motif, and you come and you use the long coat and the scarring, just like in the movie, but you make it look good. And the same goes for Typhoid Mary, who you changed a lot.
Yeah.
What was your approach to make it maybe more grounded or more realistic?
I just wanted to have real people in it. I wanted to take it away, and this was intentional. I wanted to take it away from the familiar superhero world that people have gotten used to over the years, seeing in the Marvel books. And I wanted to take it to the level of the street, where you see real people walking around you, and one of them could be a superhero in disguise. One of them could be a superhero in retirement. A superhero hurt. You don't know who these people are. Only when they put their costumes on, they become who they are. And also using a lot of my friends and some actors as models for many of the characters that I did. probably just gave them the natural look that they had, just as any other human being you can see in the subway. So that's, I kind of feel that some of these costumes were well overdue for a redesign. So kudos to Marvel that allowed us to play with that. We couldn't redesign Daredevil's costume because they wanted it to be the iconic, recognizable character. But everybody else, they let us do it. I mean, think about it. In my world, the way I created Daredevil, Typhoid Mary, the way she used to look like, she wouldn't have fit at all, right? So you want a stealth bullseye. You want someone who's hiding in the crowd, somewhere in the shadow, in the darkness. A killer. If he shows up in his, lycra, white striped and black costume, that doesn't work.
He gets recognized immediately.
Yeah.
Do you see this comics in particular? Because I know most artists, as they go on in life and learn new tricks and get better eventually, they look back to some of their early works and say, this one I didn't exactly had it, Do you think like your Daredevil was still one of your best works today?
No.
Can you elaborate?
No, I when I go back and I look at, I'm not ashamed of it. Let's put it this way. I think we did very well for what it was worth and for what was required from us. It hit the market wonderfully because it at that time, I guess, in a stroke of fortune, maybe people needed to see something different, and we served them this different look. And we told different stories, and we were allowed to go and have a long run, which is nowadays is almost impossible to do unless you self-publish. But if I had to pick the best work, and I get to judge this every time at a convention because people bring me comics from the whole spectrum of my career, from the beginning, from The Crow until the very latest books that I've done. And I looked through them all. And I can tell you one book that I think is the best that I've done so far is Scarlet. Scarlet is my pearl in my career, I think. I looked at it the other day, someone brought it to me in Amsterdam, and I looked through the whole thing. And the print was great, and the colors stood well, and the drawings were great. And I'm pretty confident that for me, for almost 30 years of drawing comics, this was the best thing I've done.
Do you think it's because you had to create everything in that comics? You didn't use other people's character and costumes and designs. You had to invent a world yourself.
You mean for Scarlet?
Yeah.
No, I think it's just because it was my own baby.
Yeah, that's it. That's what I'm saying.
We wanted this to succeed so much that I poured my soul and my life into it. And when I look at it with love. I look at it with love, and this is why I think it's my favorite thing that I've ever done.
Do you think it's the same thing for Masterpiece? Maybe.
I have to wait for a little while, and that sometimes needs to pass so it settles, and then I can look back and say, where would I rank that? But Scarlet has, probably the softest spot in my heart.
Maybe it's closer to the thematics that you like as an artist. It's more realistic or political or more grounded in a way.
And I also got to experiment with Scarlet a lot because we changed styles in the book in various sequences, especially when we told the background stories of the Scarlet's team and herself as well. So each flashback had a different art style. And Brian specifically asked and challenged me to go and seek something new. And he's always puts it, just draw something that no one's ever done before, which is of course impossible because what is new under the sun? But it did challenge me, and I did try to create something that could stay together with the rest of the styles of the book, because we've changed styles so many times. and I didn't want it to be like a mishmash and just throw in like a puzzle that doesn't fit. I think it fits. Now that I look back at it, and I think it fits. It all goes well together. So again, that was the. Yeah, it is my best book. I'm trying to think if there's something else that comes close to it. I go, no.
All right.
This
because
is it.
you followed Bendis to DC Comics for a time.
Yeah, I did, yes.
Which was, I mean, still some Maleev style, but it kind of looked like, again, we saw the criteria for going back to some old costumes and some old designs and giving them this noir and realistic and grounded touch. And then you go do get Joker with Azzarello. We're going to talk about that. But then you go back with Bendis and you do Masterpiece.
Yeah.
So is it different it's obviously a different approach, but how is it different to do your comics versus doing a comics for a company in terms of creating this world and the artistic freedom that goes with that?
How is it different? First of all, the deadlines are the deadlines, so that's not really different. You have a little more freeway when it comes to your own create your own book, because you can set it in your schedule when you can do it. Whereas when you work for a big publishing company, they want it on their own schedule, not on yours. Then you're creatively completely free. There's nothing you cannot do. There's nothing that you will get an email from an editor telling you, we can't show that, we can't say that.
That happened to you?
Over the years, of course.
Really?
Yeah, you get every once in a while you get censored for something that you've done, and you wonder when but it and the censorship levels change over the years. They vary from being too strict to let's go loose, and then you go back to strict. It's like a pendulum that swings back and forth. So you never know exactly what the next day is going to hold for you as far as
censorship
restrictions.
Yeah.
So I can go back and talk some of the pages in Daredevil where I can pinpoint things that I was allowed and not allowed to do, and they sound ridiculous to me even now, looking back 20 years ago. Something that is so insignificant and so comical to even look at. Someone felt at the time it was not allowed to be shown on a comic book page. And that's not just at Marvel. Any company will restrict you from doing something because someone's looking at your stuff and saying, maybe we should probably not have anyone complain about something that this page would evoke in someone's mind. Everybody's being just too cautious. And it's been for a while. It's not just... it's not a new thing. It's not a new thing.
You know the example of Sean Murphy, White Knight?
Okay.
Where there was a scene where Joker and Harley were in bed, and she was just topless, and it was seen from afar, like without details or without a zoom, anything sexual. Actually, it was just a woman who was topless.
Yeah.
And he got censored, and they asked him to put the panel just over the area, which he said he didn't understand because women have breasts, and that's not a topic of conversation. Is this something like? I don't know if you got censored for this kind of thing, or was it more like violent issues?
The one instance I would remember where I got censored for something that was a little sexual, and it was very suggestive, and it was very subtle. I didn't have breasts on the cover, but on I don't remember which issue that is, but it's the Typhoid Mary cover. And she has a jacket, a leather jacket, and underneath she has her outfit. And I think I had suggested that she has a nipple ring, and it was so tiny, and you can barely see it. But someone noticed it at Marvel, and they go, "We can't have that. You got to remove it." So I did. Otherwise, it wouldn't have been a cover. But no, that this is the only time I can think of where. Yeah, something sexual was shut down, and I kind of knew it was gonna go that way, but I had to try.
Is that something you discussed with Brian Azzarello when you made Get Joker? Because he got censored when he shows Batman penis in Batman Damned.
I don't think we. The only time I think we had a suggestion that we change something, and we did change it because it was something very minor. Was in one of the pages I'd drawn some violent results of an assault, and they asked me to kind of cover it up. So, which I felt it was a reasonable ask, so I did it without questioning it. But no, in our Joker, we didn't get censored. Not that I remember. No, except this one instance.
It's a pretty violent approach to the Joker and the story.
But I had shown something that was a little gruesome, so.
I actually love the way you drew the Joker because it's a character we've seen so much over the years, and this A Clockwork Orange approach and his face expressions, he really looks like he's ticking. He really is like he can go mad and kill everyone in the room. This instance. Yeah,
this was Brian Azzarello's idea. He wanted to have the Joker look like the Clockwork Orange character, and we couldn't do it too close to that because we would have run into some legal issues. But we wanted to have this being influenced by it, and we did it. We use it.
Yeah. Going back to the artistic freedom in Masterpiece, I think it's the issue number 2 or 3. We see a lot more use of color, like bright colors like blue or red, and a bit more of a pop art influence. Is that something you want to bring more in your artistic?
So I'm not sure which pages you're referring to, because some of the pages that have the pop art stuff, pages that I colored myself, especially the double page spreads, the one that has the labyrinth.
Yeah, that's in issue 1, I think.
Is it issue 1?
Yeah.
Okay.
In issue 2, we have a movie, about the heroine's parents.
Yes. Well, Brian specifically asks for these colors to be more brighter and more poppy because we need to make a reader aware that one is the actual movie made about the life of the parents of Emma, and then we need to make a difference between that and the reality in which she lives. So in order to separate this, the colors are brighter in the movie scenes as opposed to her real life. But the whole book, the way it's colored, is we're seeking to up the saturations of the colors a little bit because it's supposed to be an adventurous book. It's supposed to be it revolves around the world of a teenager, and where things are brighter, they're more colorful, they're poppy, and this is done with an intention. If you follow Scarlet, for example, it starts off in the beginning of the book. The colors are very bright and in your face. The red, the blue, the yellow, but then towards the end of the issue, they kind of fade away. They fade away, just as hope does when you're seeing what life looks around you. The colors just get grayer and muddier and brown and just unhappy. So, of course, we intend to change the mood in every page. By designing the color color palette to correspond with what the story tells you to do. So I'm glad you picked it up.
No, you're welcome. You said Scarlet was like a baby to you. Masterpiece, it's again you and Bendis. Do you feel like it's gonna be your second baby in the same sense? Do you have like big plans for that series, or is it just something Bendis wanted to do when you followed along?
For Scarlet?
No, for Masterpiece.
For Masterpiece.
Yeah.
So for now, we've planned it for the 6 issues. That's going to be initially what we want to do. We'll see how that goes. If we have success, of course, I'm not going to lie to you. We'd like to see if it sells well, if it has good audience, if we got great reviews, and when the dust settles in a way, we'll make a decision where we want to go. Whether we can do another series with her. I mean, I don't even know how far Brian has planned on doing the Masterpiece, because usually I like to get the scripts from him without knowing what is going on at the end. I like to be the reader as well, who finds out where the story is going to bring you. To me, that's also a labyrinth, and I don't want to know where the end is. I like to experience this with everybody else.
So you're with the characters as the story unveils. Okay.
So I didn't know before I got the script of issue 6, and I just finished issue 5. I had no idea how he's going to tie up the whole story and all the loose ends until I got the script, because I don't ask him what's going to happen. He doesn't tell me, and I'm just waiting for the script to lead me through it.
All right, before we roll up, because it's going to do 30 minutes, there's a question we like to ask at First Print, which is the podcast that we have, to many artists that we have on interviews. Right now, there are a lot of debates over, AI and the fact that it's probably maybe a danger or a tool, it depends, for creative artists, illustrators, comic book artists. What's your take on the matter? Because we've seen a lot of debates over the few last weeks regarding this new technology.
I have not seen those debates, and I stay away from reading anything about AI. I don't want to be bothered with it because there's nothing I can do about it. Absolutely nothing.
You just do the job.
I can go on living and do my job. It's even if all the artists in the world, I think, unite and try to fight the AI, who's going to win? What do you think?
You're right.
I'm totally pessimistic about the fight between good and evil in this case, because AI is the evil. That I have no doubt about it. But we're not going to be able to change this. We're not going to be able to stop the glaciers from melting. We're not going to be able to stop a comet from hitting or meteor hitting the Earth. I don't fool myself, because I'm at that age where my eyes are wide open and I can see clearly where all that stuff is going to go in the future. So I can only hope that people will continue supporting the artists, because if enough people do support us, then we can just live our lives and work happily and make everyone enjoy what we do. And this is why I keep drawing stuff on paper and on canvas, because I hope and I believe at this point AI will not be able to replace that. To have the joy of looking at someone else's work on your wall will not be the same if this was printed and generated by artificial intelligence. So when you go to the galleries and you look at the Louvre and the huge lines outside of people who want to see art done by humans, not artificial intelligence. So I hope that there will be enough of these people in the future that will support artists.
Yeah, so the same goes for comic book conventions. I'm going to let you go now. You said, I think that 5-7 years ago that you started without a plan. Now you're 30 years into your career. Don't you still have a plan? Do you have something in the future that you'd like to do? Or?
Yeah, I'd like to garden my own tomatoes.
And nothing relates to comics?
Nothing.
All right. Well, thank you, Alex Maleev.
Well, how far in the future is that?
I don't know, maybe like 5 years.
I like to garden my own tomatoes.
All right. Well, good luck with that. Thank you, Alex Maleev. And great to have you on the podcast.
Thank you.
Have a great convention.
All right. That's what you do, man. Thanks a lot.